Go eat in the bathroom! Yeah, that line didn't just sting. It sliced straight through me. I'm Martha. I'm 62. And honestly, I've been disrespected before. But nothing prepared me for the day my own daughter-in-law humiliated me in front of a packed restaurant, like I was some stray dog who wandered in by accident. It all started at the rehearsal dinner, a fancy place by the pier my son Ethan and his wife Layla picked because, according to them, it was classy and elegant enough for their circle. I didn't mind. I was happy just being included. Or so I thought. The place was buzzing. Clinking glasses, servers rushing around, guests laughing too loud at jokes that weren't even funny. Everything smelled like overpriced seafood and perfume so strong it could blind a small animal. I walked in wearing the blue dress my son once said made me look graceful. Funny how kids change. Anyway, I spotted Ethan across the room. He waved, sort of a half wave, like he wasn't sure he wanted people knowing I was his mother. Red flag? Probably. But I brushed it off because that's what mothers do. We swallow things until they choke us. I headed toward an empty chair beside Ethan, but before I could even sit, Layla stepped right in front of me, blocking the seat, blocking me. She flashed that tight, fake smile she uses whenever she's about to say something nasty, but wants to look innocent doing it. There's, no space here, Mrs. Martha, she said, glancing around like she owned the entire building. We're kind of full. I looked around. 3 empty chairs. 3. Right next to my own son. Before I could respond, Ethan whispered something to her, and Layla suddenly let out this dramatic laugh that turned heads. Then she leaned closer, but loud enough for literally everyone to hear. Look, Mrs. Martha, can't you see there's no room? Why don't you go eat in the bathroom? You're used to that kind of thing anyway. The whole table went silent. Someone even choked on their champagne. My face burned. My chest tightened. I swear I could hear my heartbeat in my teeth. Layla was smirking, proud, confident, certain she had just put me in my place. Ethan didn't even defend me. He just looked away, embarrassed, like I was the problem. And in that moment, with that whole room staring at me like I was some rejected charity case, something inside me shifted. Not broke, not cracked, shifted. Before she could say another word, I turned around, quietly, calmly, without a single tear, grabbed my purse, and walked straight out of the restaurant. People assumed I left because I was hurt. And sure, I was. But the truth? I walked out because I had finally made a decision I should have made years ago. See, what Layla didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I didn't come from poverty, like she always hinted. I wasn't some helpless old woman living off scraps. I was the CEO and founder of a company worth enough to buy that restaurant 10 times over. I built it from nothing. I ran it for decades. I never bragged about money because I didn't want Ethan growing up spoiled or entitled. But apparently, that backfired. I stepped outside into the warm night air, pulled out my phone, and called someone I hadn't spoken to in months, my business partner, Carl. He picked up instantly. Martha, everything all right? Yeah, I said, watching the restaurant lights blur behind me. I'm ready to sell. There was silence. Then, are you serious? Dead serious. He didn't question it. Carl never does. All right, he said. I'll get the papers ready. But Martha, you sure? I glanced back toward the restaurant, toward the woman who told me to eat in the bathroom like I was trash. I've never been more sure. By the time I reached home, the documents were already in my inbox. 2 hours later, my company was sold for $200 million. Just like that. The next morning, while Layla was probably bragging to her friends about how she put her mother-in-law in her place, I was signing the final wire confirmations. But I wasn't done. Oh no, because there was still the small matter of the wedding buffet, the one I had quietly paid for in full, the one that cost more than Layla's entire wardrobe. I canceled the payment without hesitation. Refund processed, vendor notified, caterers removed from the schedule. By noon, Ethan was already calling me, panicking, stuttering, demanding to know why the catering company said the wedding had no remaining contract. Layla screamed in the background like a wild animal. Something about embarrassment and how dare she. But that's another part of the story. For now, let's just say, the woman who told me to eat in the bathroom was about to find out that I wasn't the one who needed to swallow humiliation. She was. And trust me, she choked on it. I woke up the next morning, feeling strangely peaceful. Not happy, not excited, just calm. The kind of calm that comes after a storm you didn't start, but definitely finished. I made myself a cup of coffee, sat by the window and watched the sunlight hit the dew on my garden like tiny diamonds. It felt like life was reminding me who I really was. At around 9:30 a.m., my phone buzzed, non-stop vibrating like it owed someone money. Ethan, then Layla, then Ethan again, then Layla again. But with those aggressive double calls she does when she wants to pick a fight. I let it ring. I wasn't in the mood. But when my phone started blowing up from an unknown number, I finally answered. Mostly because I thought maybe it was Carl or the lawyer. Instead, I heard, "Mom? Mom? What did you do?" Ethan's voice cracked like he had sprinted a mile. I took a slow sip of coffee. "Morning, sweetheart. What's going on?" "Don't morning sweetheart me. The catering company said the payment bounced. They said there's no wedding food. Mom, what did you do?" "Bounce?" Wow, Layla must have told him that to make me look broke. I almost laughed. "I didn't bounce anything," I replied calmly. "I canceled the payment." Silence. A long, stunned silence. And then he snapped. "Why would you do that? Layla is freaking out. Her parents are here crying. The wedding is in 2 days." "Oh, I'm sure they'll survive," I said, swirling my coffee. "People don't usually die from embarrassment, though Layla might think she will." "Mom, this isn't funny!" "No, Ethan. You know what isn't funny? Your wife telling me to eat in a bathroom in front of 50 people while you watched." He went quiet again. He didn't deny it this time. "Well," he finally muttered, "she apologized." "No, she didn't. She pretended to drop a fork and whispered, 'Oops,' like a child. That is not an apology." He didn't reply. I sighed. "Ethan, you let her humiliate me." "I didn't know what to do," he shot back. "You're both loud, Mom. You always make things complicated." Now I actually did laugh. I literally stood up and walked out, How is that complicated? He groaned like I was ruining his life. Typical. Okay, listen, he said. Just pay again. Please, Layla's family is threatening to cancel everything. They're saying you disrespected them. Oh, honey, I said, with a sweetness I absolutely didn't feel. I don't owe them a dime. Or you, or Layla. His voice cracked. Mom, please, don't do this. I'm not doing anything, I said firmly. I'm just done letting people walk all over me. Then Layla grabbed the phone. I could hear the snatch. Martha, she shrieked so loudly I had to pull the phone away. Are you insane? This is my wedding. My, her favorite word. Layla, I said calmly, you have 1 second to lower your voice. Oh, don't you dare talk to me like you're someone important, she snapped. You're not special. You're just the mother of the groom. That's it. Uh-huh, I replied, standing and putting my mug in the sink. And yet, somehow, the entire wedding collapses when I stop paying for it. She froze. I could practically hear the gears grinding in her head. Wait, she said. Are you saying you paid for everything? I'm saying I paid for the catering, I corrected, and a few other things. And I canceled it all. You what? I smiled a smile she couldn't see, but would definitely feel. She started ranting, calling me selfish, rude, dramatic, low class. Classic Layla, all while trying to guilt trip me about ruining her big day. Meanwhile, Ethan tried to wrestle the phone back like some sitcom character. I finally interrupted. Layla, sweetie. She paused mid-scream. You sure you want to talk to me like that? Right now? Yes! Well, okay, I said, stretching casually, because here's the thing. You really shouldn't insult the person who just became the wealthiest person in this entire wedding. She snorted. Oh, please. You wealthy? If you had money, you wouldn't dress like you shop in the clearance bin at Walmart. Funny, I said dryly, because yesterday I sold my company for $200 million. Silence again. Dead silence. If I dropped a needle in that silence, it would have exploded like a grenade. Then she whispered, voice trembling. You're lying. I don't need to lie, I replied. My lawyer can send you the PDF. Another long pause. Then she screamed, Ethan, your mom is a millionaire? I heard chaos on the other side, chairs moving, someone gasping, her mother asking if it was true, her father repeating 200 million? Like he couldn't do basic math. Then Layla came back on the phone, suddenly speaking like she was auditioning for a Disney princess role. Martha. Sweet, sweet Martha. Maybe we got off on the wrong foot. I hung up. 2 minutes later, Ethan texted, Mom, she fainted. I didn't reply. Instead, I grabbed my purse, stepped outside, and headed to the bakery down the street. I ordered myself a cinnamon roll, sat by the window, and enjoyed the quiet. Because for once in my life, people were finally realizing who they were dealing with. And trust me, I wasn't done yet. After my cinnamon roll therapy session, I drove back home feeling lighter than I had in years. No guilt, no second guessing, no shrinking myself to keep the peace. Just peace. But when I pulled into my driveway, I saw a car parked crookedly across my lawn. Layla's parents' SUV. Great, the circus had arrived. I barely got out of my car before her mother, Denise, stormed up to me like a wind-up toy with rage issues. Martha, she snapped. We need to talk. Do we? I asked, locking my car slowly, because I was actually planning on a nap. This is serious, she barked. Layla is devastated. The wedding is in chaos. You embarrassed our family. I blinked at her. You mean like how your daughter embarrassed me in a full restaurant? She went quiet for a second, just enough to realize she'd stepped into the wrong ring with the wrong fighter. But of course, she powered straight through. She was joking, Denise insisted. And even if she wasn't, you're older. You should set the example. I laughed. Full belly laugh. Didn't even try to hide it. Denise, if your idea of maturity is letting grown kids order me into a bathroom, then honey, your bar is underground. She crossed her arms. Lips pinched so tight she looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. You're being dramatic. Just pay again, for the sake of family unity. Ah, there it was, the classic guilt punch. No, I said simply. Her face turned bright red. You can't just punish everyone because you're sensitive. Denise, I said, leaning in slightly, your daughter doesn't get to treat me like a stray dog and then demand I bankroll her princess fantasy. You're being ridiculous. And you're being delusional, I shot back. But that's not new. She gasped, like I had slapped her soul. Before she could keep going, the front door swung open, and Ethan walked out, hair messy, shirt wrinkled, looking like he hadn't slept. Mom, he said, rubbing his forehead. Can we please talk? Sure, I said. Inside. Denise tried to step in with us. Nope, I said, blocking her with one finger. This is a family conversation. And no offense, Denise, but you're about as helpful as a broken umbrella. She sputtered. Ethan gently shut the door behind me before she could explode again. Inside, Ethan paced, running both hands through his hair. Mom, everything is falling apart. No, I said, setting my purse down. Everything is finally being revealed. He stopped pacing. What's that supposed to mean? I sat on the couch and patted the cushion beside me. He sat, reluctantly. Ethan, I began. I love you. You're my son. But you've changed since you got with Layla. He opened his mouth. I held up a hand. Shh. Let me finish. He closed it. You don't stand up for yourself. You don't stand up for me. You let her talk to you like you owe her something. And you let her treat me like a problem. He stared at the floor. She's under a lot of stress. Stress doesn't give her a license to be cruel, I cut in. I've been stressed for 58 years. I don't treat people like trash. He winced. I softened a bit. Look, I warned you when you first started dating her. I told you she sees people as what they can give her, not who they are. He kept staring down. I waited. Finally, he spoke. Mom, she's pregnant. I froze. Well, damn, that was not what I expected. I stared at him. Are you serious? He nodded. Everything in me twisted. The anger, the worry, the deep, buried fear that I was losing my son for good. Does she know you told me? No. Does she expect you to tell me? No. Is she using this to control you? He swallowed, hard. That's not fair, he said quietly. Oh, it's fair, I replied. It's very fair, because she knows exactly what she's doing. He didn't deny it, and that told me everything. I leaned back, letting the weight of it settle. Ethan, being pregnant doesn't excuse bad behavior, and it doesn't make her mother's behavior acceptable either. He nodded weakly. But it does mean something, I added. You're about to be a father, and that changes everything. He lifted his head, eyes tired and scared. Mom, I don't want this wedding to fall apart. I took a deep breath. Then fix it. How? He whispered. By being a man, I said, softly but firmly. Not her puppet. Not her mother's punching bag. Not someone who waits until his wife humiliates his mother in public before speaking up. His shoulders slumped. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I placed my hand on his. "I know you are. But apologies don't mean anything if your actions stay the same." He nodded slowly. "What do you want me to do?" "Well," I said, "first, you need to tell Layla to stop trying to control everything. Second, you need to tell her mother to back off. Third, you need to apologize to me like you mean it. And last," he looked up, "you need to let the consequences play out. Because what happened last night, that wasn't just embarrassing. It was revealing." He stared at me for a long moment. "You're right," he whispered. "I usually am." He gave a tiny, tired laugh. Then the doorbell rang. Loud, frantic, nonstop. Layla, of course. Ethan stood up, sighing. I stayed seated, because I already knew. The real storm was about to walk through that door. And I was ready for it. The doorbell kept ringing, like someone was trying to break inside with pure attitude alone. Ethan glanced at me, panicked. I sipped my water, calm as a monk with bills paid. "Well," I said, "you better get that before she kicks the door down." He opened it, and there she was. Layla, mascara streaked, hair messy, dress wrinkled, like she'd sprinted here straight from a meltdown. The second she saw me on the couch, her face twisted into that bratty, spoiled princess expression, the one she usually reserves for waiters who bring her the wrong kind of lemon slice for her water. "Martha," she snapped, marching in without being invited. "We need to talk right now." I raised an eyebrow. "Hello to you too." She pointed a shaking finger at me, like I was a coupon she couldn't redeem. "You humiliated us! You ruined everything!" she shrieked. "Actually," I corrected, "I just stopped paying for everything." "Oh my God!" she yelled, pacing like a cartoon villain having a crisis. "You're acting insane! You can't just cancel the wedding." "I didn't cancel anything," I said. "Your attitude did." She gasped like I'd stabbed her soul again. Ethan stepped forward. "Layla, calm down." "No," she barked. "I will not calm down. Your mother is sabotaging our wedding because she's jealous." I actually laughed. Jealous? Of what? Her eyelash extensions? "Jealous of what exactly?" I asked. "Your lack of manners? Your ability to scream at people who pay your bills? Your world-class entitlement?" She stomped her foot. "See? This is why I said what I said at the restaurant. You always act like you're better than me just because you have money." "I didn't act like anything," I said. "You just assumed it because the only language you understand is financial dependence." Her jaw clenched. Ethan looked between us like a referee who desperately wants the match to end. "Layla," he said carefully, "what you said last night was wrong, and you need to apologize to my mom." Layla whipped toward him like he'd betrayed the queen. "Excuse me?" He swallowed. "I mean it." "And what about her?" she screeched, pointing at me like I'd burned down her Pinterest board. "She embarrassed you. She embarrassed me. She embarrassed both our families." "That's funny," I said, "since you did all that on your own before the appetizers even arrived." She spun toward me. "You are not taking this wedding from me. Do you know how much work I've put in? Do you know how stressful this has been? Do you even care that I'm—" She froze. Ethan froze. I froze. She clamped her mouth shut instantly. I leaned forward slowly. "That you're what?" She looked at Ethan, eyes wide, panic full-blown. "You told her?" He swallowed. I had to." Layla's entire face went red. What the hell, Ethan? You promised. You promised we'd wait until after the wedding. I sighed. So it was a manipulation tactic. She snapped toward me. You don't know anything. I know enough, I said. And I know using a pregnancy like a bargaining chip is toxic. It's not a bargaining chip, she yelled. It is if you're using it to justify treating people like garbage, I said. She shook her head aggressively, wiping her face. You are not ruining this for me. I deserve this wedding. I've dreamed of it since I was little. I planned everything for months. I picked every detail. I deserve it. Ethan sighed. Layla, a wedding shouldn't depend on my mom paying. It does depend on her paying, she snapped. Because you can't afford anything, and neither can I. And she knows that. I looked at Ethan. He looked ashamed. Layla kept going, words spilling out. She can afford it. She's rich. She barely spends money on herself. She lives in this tiny apartment for no reason. She could write a check and not even feel it. But she chooses to make everything difficult. She's selfish. I let out a slow, deep breath. Baby, I said gently, I spent 45 years pulling this family uphill while dragging dead weight. I am not dragging anymore. I'm not dead weight, she screamed. Oh no, I said, you're worse. You're entitled dead weight with glitter. Ethan rubbed his forehead. Layla, we need to stop. This is getting out of hand. No, she yelled. If your mom doesn't pay, then the wedding is off. I mean it. I'm not marrying into a broke family. Silence. Actual, heavy silence. Ethan stared at her like he suddenly saw her clearly for the first time. I'm broke, he whispered. Layla froze, realizing what she'd said. I mean, not broke, I meant. No, Ethan said quietly. You meant exactly what you said. He stepped back from her, and she panicked. Ethan, wait! No, he said, voice shaking. You've been talking to me like this for months. But talking to my mother like that? Demanding money she doesn't owe you? Threatening to cancel our wedding if she doesn't pay? He swallowed hard. You showed me exactly who you are. Layla burst into tears. Ethan, please, I didn't mean, I was just stressed. No, he said again. You don't get to blame stress. You don't get to talk to the woman who raised me like that. He turned toward me. Mom, I'm sorry for everything. I nodded slowly. Good. Now apologize with actions, not just words. He nodded again, serious this time. Layla covered her face, sobbing dramatically. This isn't happening, she cried. This can't be happening. Ethan looked at her, tired, heartbroken, disappointed. We need space, he said. A lot of it. Layla's hands dropped. She stared at him like he'd knocked the wind out of her. You're choosing her over me? No, he said. I'm choosing a healthy life over a toxic one. And for the first time ever, I felt like my son finally grew up. Layla just stood there, frozen, mascara streaked like a sad raccoon who lost custody of the trash cans. Ethan walked past her and sat down across from me. His shoulders looked heavy, like years of pent-up stress were finally sliding off. Layla blinked hard. You can't be serious. Ethan didn't even look up. I'm dead serious. Her mouth fell open like she was catching flies. Ethan, you don't mean that. You're just upset. No, he cut in. I'm finally not upset. For once, I'm thinking clearly. She let out this ugly, shaky laugh. So that's it? You're just gonna throw everything away because your mommy snapped her fingers? I raised a brow. Sweetheart, if I snapped my fingers, the lights would dim, the champagne would chill itself, and a jazz band would appear. This is all on you. She shot me the dirtiest glare I've seen in years. You're manipulating him. I smiled. If you think quiet disappointment is manipulation, you really must have grown up around some dramatic people. Ethan sighed. Layla, I'm not doing this anymore. Every fight we've had the last year has been about money. Your expectations. Your lifestyle. Your pressure. She shook her head, panic rising. That's because you don't get it. I want a nice life. I want a beautiful wedding. I want things to be perfect. Perfect? He said. You think perfection comes from a $60,000 event and yelling at people? Her voice cracked. I want people to think we're doing well. There it was. The truth. Her obsession with appearances. I leaned forward. And you think the way to look successful is by treating people like they're beneath you? She didn't answer. She just cried harder. Ethan rubbed his temples. Layla, I love you, but I can't build a marriage on debt, entitlement, and fake standards. That's not a life. That's a trap. She dropped to her knees, literally, hands clutching his jeans. Please, don't do this. Ethan, please, please, I'm sorry. He gently moved her hands. I need time. No, she yelled, suddenly hysterical. If you walk away, we're done. Do you hear me? Done. I exhaled slowly. Baby girl, threats don't make a man stay. They make him run faster. She spun at me. You stay out of this! I stared at her calmly. If you didn't want me involved, you shouldn't have dragged me into your drama with a microphone and a spotlight. She looked like she wanted to flip the coffee table. Ethan stood. I'm going for a walk. She grabbed his arm again. Ethan, please! He pulled away gently but firmly. I'll talk to you later. The door closed behind him. And for a moment, there was silence. Just Layla and me. She wiped her face with her sleeve, breathing uneven. She shook her head wildly. No, if you hadn't embarrassed me, if you just acted normal, if you hadn't canceled the payment, if you hadn't. If I hadn't stopped funding your attitude, I said. She clenched her jaw. You think you're so wise, so calm, so special. No, I said. I just learned what self-respect is. You should try it sometime. Her lip trembled again. You don't understand what it's like, she breathed, trying so hard to look like you have everything together. Trying to impress people. Trying to fit in. I leaned back. Trying to look rich by insulting people doesn't make you high class. It makes you loudly insecure. She froze. Because she knew it was true. Tears spilled again. But this time, not the dramatic kind. These were softer. Real. Scared. I messed everything up, she whispered. Yes, I said. But messing up isn't the end. Refusing to grow from it is. She blinked. What do I even do now? I looked her dead in the eye. You stop performing, competing with imaginary people. You stop treating real people like props. And you actually, genuinely apologize to Ethan, to me, to everyone you hurt. She swallowed. And if he doesn't want me back, then you take that as life teaching you a painful but necessary lesson. Her voice cracked. I don't want to lose him. Then show him a version of you that's worth keeping. She didn't get defensive this time. She didn't yell. She didn't blame. For the first time, she just sat there and processed. After a long moment, she said quietly, I don't hate you, Martha. I chuckled. Oh, honey, I know. If you really hated me, you wouldn't have tried so hard to impress me. She looked down. Did you really sell your company yesterday? Yep. And you don't regret it? Nope. She stared. Why? I smiled softly. Because peace is worth more than profit. You'll understand that one day. She nodded slowly, tired, deflated. Then she whispered, "Can I stay here until Ethan comes back?" That surprised me, but I nodded. "As long as you don't scream, break something, or call me names again." She actually laughed through her tears. "Deal." She sat quietly on the couch, clutching a pillow like it was a lifeline. And for the first time, I saw the real Layla. Not the mean one, not the glamorous one, just a scared girl who never learned how to be enough without performing. And honestly, that was progress. Ethan didn't come back for almost 2 hours, and honestly, those 2 hours felt like a whole season finale. Layla sat curled up on my couch like a guilty teenager waiting for her report card. Every time a car passed outside, Layla jumped so fast she nearly face-planted into the coffee table. Ethan stepped inside, looking tired, but calmer, like he'd walked 5 miles worth of frustration off his chest. He saw her. She saw him. And the silence between them, you could have sliced it with a butter knife. Layla spoke first. "Ethan, can we talk?" He didn't say no, but he didn't say yes either. He just nodded slightly and took a seat across from her. Not next to her, not touching her. Across. Which told me everything. Layla swallowed hard. "I know you're angry, and you should be. I've been awful and rude and dramatic and mean," Ethan added quietly. She nodded instantly. "Yes, mean, and I'm sorry. I embarrassed your mom. I embarrassed you. I embarrassed myself." She took a breath, like she was bracing for a punch. "But I wasn't trying to hurt you. I wanted people to think we had everything together. I thought if everything looked perfect, everything would be perfect." He sat back. "And how's that working out for you?" A tear slipped down her cheek. "It's not," she whispered. He stared at her for a moment. "You humiliated my mother, Layla. That's not a small thing." "I know," she said quickly, "and I swear I'll make it right. I'll apologize to the restaurant staff, the guests, everyone. I don't care how embarrassing it is. I'll fix it." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Why now?" "Because," she sniffed, "because your mom called me out, and I finally realized I keep trying to live up to some fake standard that doesn't even exist. And it keeps making me someone I don't want to be." I raised a brow. That's the first honest sentence she's said all week. Layla shot me a nervous look but didn't argue. Ethan leaned forward. "I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to stop trying to look perfect." She nodded vigorously. "I can do that. I will do that." He paused. "And you need to stop caring about money like it's oxygen." She winced. "Yeah, I know. And I want to learn, really." Then Ethan asked the question that decided everything. "Why do you want to be with me, Layla?" Her eyes widened. "What kind of question is that?" "A very important one." Layla pushed her hands through her hair, frustrated but controlled this time. "I love you, Ethan. Not your salary, not your job, not the idea of you. You. I'm just insecure. And when I feel insecure, I get loud. And when I get loud, I get stupid." This was the first time she didn't sugarcoat anything. He exhaled. "And what are you going to do differently?" She didn't hesitate. "I'm going to shut up and listen more." I snorted. She glared but kept going. "I'm going to go to therapy. Real therapy." Not those TikTok videos I pretend count. A laugh escaped Ethan despite himself. I'm gonna stop pretending we're rich. Stop trying to impress everyone. Stop acting like a spoiled princess. Just be better. Then she looked right at him. But you have to help me learn how. I can't fix everything in one night. That got him. He softened, just a little. I'm not expecting perfection, just effort. Layla nodded quickly. You'll get effort, I swear. He finally moved closer. Not much, just a few inches. But in that moment, it felt huge. Layla's voice cracked again. Please don't give up on me. He let out a long breath, then reached out and grabbed her hand. I'm not giving up, he said quietly. But we're gonna do this right. And slow and honestly. She nodded like a bobblehead. Whatever it takes. And you need to apologize to my mom properly. Layla whipped her head toward me. I will, she said, shaking. Martha, I held up my hand. Save it. Apologize when you actually mean it, not when you're scared. She blinked. Okay, I respect that. Now that surprised me. After a moment, Ethan stood up and said, Let's go home. Layla grabbed her bag like it was her ticket to salvation and followed him to the door. Before leaving, she turned back. Martha, she said softly. Yes. Thank you for not giving up on me. I didn't smile. I didn't hug her. I just nodded. Make it worth it, I said. She nodded back, and then they left. The house went quiet, and for the first time in days, I felt peace settling in. But I had no idea the biggest twist was coming tomorrow morning. And trust me, it was a wild one. I woke up the next morning thinking the drama was finally cooling off. Ha! Cute of me. I walked into the kitchen, craving some quiet coffee time, maybe a little sunshine, and instead found my front door shaking like someone was trying to kick it down. I froze. For a second, I thought it was Layla's dramatic spirit coming back for round 2. But nope. When I opened the door, Layla's mother stood there. Full makeup, giant sunglasses, hair sprayed to heaven and back, and an attitude loud enough to be heard in the next state. She barged in without asking, like my house was a mall and she owned every store inside it. Where is she? She shrieked, stomping through my living room in heels that could puncture hardwood. I calmly sipped my coffee. Good morning to you too, Patricia. She spun on me like she was about to audition for a villain role. What did you do to my daughter? I blinked. Yesterday or in general? She huffed. I just went to see her this morning, and she's crying, packing, and talking about therapy. Therapy! And she said you told her she needs to change. I raised a brow. That's because she does. Patricia gasped like I'd told her oxygen was canceled. How dare you interfere with our family? I almost laughed. Interfere? Ma'am, your daughter started the Interference Olympics. She got even louder. Layla is sensitive and delicate. You don't just tell someone like her to grow up. She's 30, I said flatly, and still sensitive. There it was. The delusion. She threw her purse on my couch like she lived here. My daughter told me she embarrassed herself. Embarrassed my son-in-law-to-be. Embarrassed you. And you didn't comfort her? You didn't hold her? You didn't guide her? I tilted my head. Are you asking me why I didn't cuddle the grown woman who told me to eat in a bathroom? She slammed her hand on the table. That was a misunderstanding. I stared. A misunderstanding? She literally pointed at the restroom door. Patricia stomped her foot. She was stressed. And I was breathing. Things happen. You're mocking her! No, I'm surviving her. Patricia groaned dramatically and flopped onto my chair like a fainting actress. You're ruining everything! The wedding is in less than a month and Layla is falling apart. I shrugged. She's not falling apart. She's finally waking up. Patricia pointed at me like I was the villain of the century. No, you did this. You filled her head with ideas. You turned her against her own family. Now I laughed, loud. You think I have that much free time? She turned against her own bad habits. I just held up the mirror. Her jaw dropped. And now she's talking about living within her means and being humble and apologizing to people? That is not how she was raised. I slowly set my coffee down. Well, that explains a lot. She gasped. How dare! And right then, the door opened again. Ethan walked in. His timing? Immaculate. He froze when he saw Patricia. Oh boy. He muttered under his breath. She jumped up and ran to him. Ethan, thank goodness you're here. Your mother is destroying our family. Layla is in tears because she feels judged. She needs support, not discipline. He rubbed his temple. Patricia, please don't start this. Start? She's packing. She thinks she ruined everything. Ethan exhaled. She didn't ruin everything. She just acted out, and she's trying to fix it. Patricia blinked. Fix it? By listening to her? She pointed at me like I was the devil offering coupons. Ethan straightened. Yes, because my mom told her the truth. She looked offended on a spiritual level. The truth? The truth is harsh, insensitive, toxic. You people are too honest. I choked on my own spit, laughing. Ethan sighed. Patricia, you enabled her behavior for years. Mom didn't break her. She just didn't babysit her. Patricia gasped again. She is sensitive. And she is 30, Ethan snapped. She's not a toddler. She needs boundaries. Patricia froze, eyes wide. You're siding with them? Against your own future wife? No, he said calmly. I'm siding with reality. She let out a shaky breath. This is unbelievable. Layla is fragile. No, Ethan said. Layla is capable, and she wants to grow up. Patricia shook her head violently. She is not changing who she is for you people. I stepped forward. She's not changing for us. She's changing because she finally realized the world doesn't revolve around how she looks to strangers. Patricia blinked rapidly. I won't allow it. I raised a brow. She's a grown woman. It's not your choice anymore. She stumbled back like I'd hit her with a spell. Then, in pure dramatic fashion, she grabbed her purse, flipped her hair angrily, and declared, I'm taking her home with me. Ethan stepped in front of the door. No, you're not. She froze. You can't stop me. Yes, I can. She pressed her lips together like she was swallowing fire. This isn't over, and she stormed out, slamming the door so hard my wall art rattled. I turned to Ethan. Well, that was energizing. He sighed. She's gonna make this so hard. Oh, I said with a smile. You have no idea how hard she can make things. Little did we know, by sunset, Patricia was about to escalate things to a level none of us saw coming. And trust me, it got crazy. Ethan and I barely had 10 minutes of peace before chaos came knocking again. Literally, this time, the knocking wasn't loud. It was furious. The kind of knocking that says, I didn't calm down, I got worse. I opened the door, expecting Patricia alone. But nope, she'd upgraded. She brought her husband, her sister, and because drama loves company, her pastor. Yeah, her pastor. I blinked. Ethan choked, and the pastor looked like he had no idea what mission he'd just been recruited for. Patricia pushed past us like an angry parade float. "We are here," she announced dramatically, "to take Layla back where she belongs." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "Where she belongs? Patricia, she's not a lost suitcase." Patricia ignored me, sweeping into my living room like a queen returning to her castle. Her sister was holding a Bible. Her husband was holding car keys. The pastor was holding regret. Ethan whispered to me, "Please tell me this isn't happening." "Oh, it's happening," I muttered. "Grab popcorn." Patricia whirled around, pointing at us like she was declaring war. "My daughter is too emotional to be around you people. She told me you shamed her." "I told her to stop treating people like furniture," I said. "That's not shaming. That's advice." The pastor cleared his throat. Perhaps we can handle this peacefully?" Patricia spun on him. "No, this is a rescue mission." I raised a brow. "She's not hostage. She's at therapy right now." Everyone froze. "Therapy?" Patricia shrieked, like I'd said Layla joined a biker gang. "Yes," Ethan said. "She went willingly." Patricia staggered like she'd been shot. "She went to a therapist without asking me?" Her husband whispered, "Honey, she's grown." Patricia whipped around. "You take that back!" He quietly shut up. I sighed. "Patricia, she needed help. She said it herself." "She doesn't need help," Patricia yelled. "She needs obedience, respect, stability." "She needs accountability," I corrected. The pastor timidly raised his hand. "Maybe we should wait until Layla gets back?" "No," Patricia snapped. "We're leaving now." Ethan stepped forward. "You're not dragging her away from working on herself." Patricia laughed dramatically. "You can't stop me." He crossed his arms. "Watch me." The tension in the room got so thick, it needed its own zip code. Patricia stomped past us and started opening doors. "Layla!" she shouted. "Honey, Mommy's here! Pack your things!" I sat on the couch, sipping water, like I was watching a live reality show. Ethan leaned over. "She's out of her mind!" "Oh, absolutely," I whispered. "She's practically on a tour." The pastor approached me awkwardly. "Ma'am, I'm terribly sorry." "She told me there was a medical emergency." "Oh, there is," I said. "Her ego is in critical condition." Patricia returned, furious. "She's not here!" "That's what therapy session means," I said. She jabbed a finger at me. "When she gets back, she's leaving with us." "No," Ethan said. "She's not." Patricia's eyes went wild. "She's my daughter!" "She's my fiancée," he shot back. "And her future is with me, not your delusions." Her mouth opened and closed like a confused fish. Then she screamed. "If she stays with you, she'll change too much!" I blinked. That's literally the point. She pointed at me again. This woman really loved pointing. "You planted ideas in her head. She said she wants to—" Patricia made air quotes so big they could block a billboard. "Be a better person." The horror in her voice made me laugh out loud. "Yes," I said, "she wants to grow. You should try it." Patricia turned purple. "I refuse to let her become one of you." Ethan took a deep breath. "What exactly is one of us?" "A normal adult," Patricia screamed. "Someone who doesn't rely on me. Someone who thinks independently. Someone who questions me." Ethan's jaw dropped. "So basically, a functioning human?" Patricia stomped her foot. I will not be disrespected. I smiled sweetly. No one's disrespecting you. We're just saying your daughter isn't an extension of you. Her sister, the one with the Bible, finally spoke. Patricia, maybe Layla does need some space. Patricia gasped, as if betrayed by her own shadow. You too? Her husband quietly backed away. Then, the front door opened. Layla walked in. Eyes puffy, makeup smudged, hands shaking. But she looked more grounded than I'd ever seen her. Mom, she whispered. What are you doing here? Patricia ran toward her dramatically. Baby, pack your things. You're coming home. Layla stepped back. No, I'm not. Patricia froze. What do you mean? Layla swallowed hard. I talked to my therapist. I realized I've been acting out, being selfish, and hurting people. Patricia blinked. No, sweetie. That therapist is poisoning you. Layla shook her head. No, Mom. They're helping me. I can't go back home with you. Patricia looked like her soul left her body. You're choosing them over me? Layla wiped her eyes. I'm choosing myself. I swear, the silence after that could have broken glass. Patricia trembled. I can't let you do this. Layla sighed. You don't get to decide anymore. Patricia suddenly dropped to her knees. Full meltdown. Please, you can't change. I won't know who you are anymore. Layla knelt beside her. Mom, maybe that's the problem. Patricia cried harder. Ethan stepped beside Layla and put his hand on her back. I stayed quiet. This was their moment. Layla helped her mother up. I love you, Mom, but I'm not going with you. Patricia didn't respond. She just turned around. He hugged her tight. I know, but you're doing the right thing. She looked at me next. Thank you for not lying to me, even when I didn't want to hear it. I smiled. Sweetheart, truth hurts way less than staying the same. She nodded slowly. Can we start over? Of course, I said. But this time, no bathroom jokes. Layla laughed through tears. That was really messed up, wasn't it? Oh, absolutely, I grinned. Top-tier disrespect. And that was the beginning. The real beginning. Of a healthier relationship. A stronger family. And a daughter-in-law who finally stepped out of her mother's shadow and into her own life.